Right, in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on February 21st, 2014, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel-Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded, and except for up to the closed session portion of this meeting, and will be available on UTTV Channel 2, soon to be UTTV Channel 97, and on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct this announcement made a part of the minutes of this meeting. I would ask all to rise for the salute of the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr? Here. Mr. Coggins? Here. Mr. Ansara?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mayor Colombo?
Here.
All members are present.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from February 3rd, the special budget meeting, and the minutes from the meeting February 10th, budget workshop, as well as a regular meeting and closed session minutes?
Motion to approve minutes. Second.
Is there any corrections, deletions, omissions that anyone's aware of on any of those four documents? Okay, hearing none. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Barbara, do you have anything for us this evening?
I just have one thing this evening. I would like to request permission to attend the New Jersey Municipal Clerks Association Conference next month. It is at a cost of $260, and the conference will allow me to obtain legislative updates and new information on laws such as OPRA and things like that.
Move to approve.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Thank you. Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Thank you very much. And that's all I have this evening.
Thanksgiving Day is William Chris.
I believe theirs is the 19th and 20th. What were your dates?
These are the 26th, 25th through the 27th.
So the next week.
The following week.
For that March?
March, yes.
Didn't say a week on that. That's all right.
You thought what?
First of all, I'm not going to say a week on that March.
No, I think it's the week prior that they're going.
Daniel?
Nothing at this time, but we have personnel, safety and security issues, and contract negotiation matters for closed session.
Okay. Paul?
Thank you. Just wanted to update committee. We did discuss last week regarding UTTV2, and it's moved to channel 97. The committee asked me to find out some stuff from Comcast. I did talk to their government relations person. Unfortunately, there is no ability for them to stream anything on the lower end once the change happens, because of, that's a contractual thing or an FCC thing, that they just push the programming through. They don't have any control over that programming, just like they don't have any current control over the programming that we push out. So they have done flyers, inserts in all the bills to Comcast residents, so that's all been out there. And also their call center is aware of the change, and so if somebody calls up and asking, hey, where did this channel go, they're fully aware of how to direct them to the proper channel. The next thing is I just wanted to give the committee, I did meet with the contractor for the paving project today. Looks like they may be starting work as early as next week, depending on the weather warming up and getting some of their concrete contractors in line, but they could be starting next week on that project, and most likely starting on Ocean Avenue and working towards Seaside, Sea Sound, in that area first.
And we'll notify the residents in some way so that they know that they're going to be inconvenienced while the repairs take place?
Yes, they'll first put up construction signs, just knowing, road construction signs, letting the residents that are going to be there, and then any time a driveway is going to be affected, whether it's from paving or for concrete work, they'll be given individual notice 1 to 2 days in advance of the work.
Well, two things. Can we do something to have the contractors on trash collection days on the streets where they're paving, if the trucks can't get through, to move the refuse out to the closest accessible street? And the other thing would be, perhaps we ought to get that schedule on Channel 2 and just continue, or Channel 97, and continue to update it so people whose streets are being paved will be able to see.
I typically do put those streets on UTTV2, and I do coordinate, letting the contractor know if they're paving on a certain day with trash collection. I try to help coordinate that with Public Works and the contractor to try to make it as smooth as possible.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. The last item I had was regarding the Green Team. We had another productive meeting earlier this month, and in your folder under other items of discussion, there was a proposed resolution regarding supporting wildlife habitat. That is something that it gets us towards our certification. I would ask if the committee could take a look at that resolution, and I'll follow up with you possibly next month if we could introduce that resolution. That's all I had for this evening.
Just one other question, as far as the paving is concerned.
Yes.
How do you work it with notifying public safety, like the rescue squads and fire departments?
Once I know their start date, I'll notify both state police and the rescue squad and the fire companies that they're working in their areas.
That's good.
Thank you, that's all I had.
Barbara?
I just have one thing this evening. In speaking to Public Works over the last week or so, it's been determined as we're getting ready to start this automated program that we are in need of additional carts. So asking for permission for a change order for our contract with Cascade Engineering, who handles the carts. We need an additional 600 carts, the 64-gallon carts at a little over $24,000 the cost. Asking if the committee would so desire to have the money taken out of the recycling trust fund as opposed to the bond. The spending with the bond, the items that are in the bond to be spent, the proposed items, I feel is kind of tight. We do have an additional probably about $70,000 in the recycling trust fund. So it's just under $25,000 for the carts, and Public Works is also going to be in need of an additional cart tipper for one of the trucks at a cost of maybe about $6,500 or so. So if we could, if the committee so desires, if we could have about $30,000 approved, up to $35,000 approved from the recycling fund to pay for the additional carts and the retrofit of the cart tipper.
Now these additional carts, are they based on requests from the residents?
Yes, they are.
And so when we did the initial order, did we not take into consideration, how was the initial order produced?
We estimated about 10% above what we needed, but based on the requests that are coming in, especially for the, not necessarily the ones that need a cart for their normal trash collection, but for the people that are asking for carts for, different occasions, or that, the occasional summer need, or during holiday times, those residents are the ones that need that extra cushion of carts for delivery.
My understanding is as well that we've had, some of the requests have come in that they don't want the 96-gallon, they want the 64-gallon.
Well, I guess my question is, does that mean we're going to have a surplus of the 95 gallons that we could use for residents that have asked for additional containers?
Yes, they feel that the overage that has been ordered for the 96 gallons will get eaten up with the additional requests from the residents. The 64 gallon are the ones that we need, that we're short right now.
So are we saying that potentially what's already ordered, we could make up in selling, the additional ones back to the
Yes.
recycling money? Is that what we're saying?
Including some of this order.
Yeah, I don't know.
I kind of go along with that, Rich. I think you will probably find, and again, based on what I've seen throughout the township and people say, you'll probably find there will be at least 600 families and possibly more who are going to approach the township for additional carts. So this way, you know, we have that inventory built up and we'll be ready to go.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm just making sure, because I thought that we had made a substantial purchase. And I'm okay with buying the smaller ones, because we said we were going to work around the needs of the residents. But it sounds to me like even if we, I just want to make sure if we're approving this money to be spent at the recycle, that in some way in the back end, we're going to realize that money because we're going to have the surplus, larger 95-gallon cans that the residents will be able to purchase. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And we can reimburse the recycling trust fund.
We'll sell those to the residents and then give them the money.
And then turn it back into the recycling trust. Now,
Rather than wait for the cans to come in, they're already here and whatever.
Okay. And what kind of timeline are we talking about so that we can coordinate the efforts? Because it's my understanding we're getting close to.
we are hoping,
If they're ordered, if we do the change order today and they're ordered now, they can come with the initial delivery, as
Yeah.
opposed to waiting to a future delivery date.
Okay. Would someone like to make that motion then? To approve that?
what, the motion needs to be to approve the change order and then to also approve the $35,000 from the recycling trust fund for the carts and for the tipper.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Did we make any consideration for parts, replacement parts? Do we have reserve containers too? Like, say for instance, a motor vehicle accident, somebody loses a trash can, or an accident or something.
Parts for the cans, parts for the carts? Have we, I don't know that we, that has.
They'll have spares, this will have
Yes, it's-
sufficient spares to cover that.
And you, how about repair parts? I mean, you're asking too, right?
Repair parts, yeah.
Is there repair parts with this initial order coming in for lids to break or?
No. Most of them that are going to break would be under warranty.
This time we're going to warranty for the.
And how long is the warranty for?
10 years.
10 years? Okay. That's parts and labor?
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Cobbins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
And that's all I had, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cobbins?
Nothing terribly exciting in the financial realm. We are going to be asking for a revision to the temporary budget. And for everybody's knowledge, that revision to the temporary budget is not going to be a revision to increase the budget. It's going to be a revision to spread the temporary budget from 3 months to 4 months, just due to the timing of the approval of the budget.
Okay. Do we need to have a formal vote for that?
Well, you
No,
can
it's on the
send that.
agenda.
It's on the
It's on the
agenda.
agenda.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Mr. Young?
A couple of things. We've been working on the well for the township hall. I know we got that for discussion later on. We found what the problem was. Apparently somebody ran into the well and broke it off the bell housing about 4 or 5 people over. So it's been sucking dirt for the last couple months, the way it looks right now. Again, this is here and working on it. Instructing that whatever it takes as a professional to take in the bladder tank all the way to the well and make sure everything's in working order. You know, we have to get this taken care of, and we might as well have the person that does the well work, as well as coordinating the well. While we're done coordinating, I heard that the rescue squad well needs to be coordinated now too. So I instructed Barb today to get him to call McKinnis and have him do that. It has to be done by a licensed individual, so we'll have
That's
to get
good
into
enough.
that also. We have some work we're scoping out for Amanda's Field. Hopefully we'll get some good weather so we can get down there and start taking care of some of the issues with the grading. I will be asking, and I don't know if now's the time or not, for an additional $50,000 of bond money so that we can finish the lights and it's entirely for the 3 ball fields. If we don't, we can't do final grades, we can't finish the parks, we can't put seed in, we can't landscape, we can't do anything. The money spent now will probably save us tenfold at the end. Because once we get the bases in, we can finish everything else in that part of the park, once and for all. We have $138,000 earmarked, which is enough strictly to do the Babe Ruth field. In conversation with Paul, we feel we have an additional $50,000 will do the Little League field and the other adjacent field. At that point, then we can start looking at the drainage issues in the back end of the fields along the woods line. So that's something we have in our works right now. And just to get a game plan, it looks like we're not going to have baseball up and running for night games this year, but we're hoping to get day games put out there.
Question on procedure there.
Yeah.
Are you asking that the bond amount, and I direct this to Barb Spiegel as well, the bond amount be amended so that it's be a further...
That's part of the discussion on the agenda.
That's what it's going to come up on this discussion on the agenda. I just want to make sure that's what was included, because if it requires action to change the bond, we should discuss it at that point in the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We have a recreation meeting on Thursday night, the advisory board. We have some applications coming in for soccer tournaments and different things we'll have to review. There's been a lot of inquiries for Amanda's Field from outside entities, so we really need to get hard on it and look at it and make sure it's for the proper reasons and for nonprofits and not for individuals, which will be taking care of that with the advisory board and making recommendations on how the township should proceed with that. I wanted to say one thing. It's a compliment for somebody from our staff. I'm talking to some of the people from the school board that I happen to know. I received rave compliments on Mike and Dave working at the school, from Lori to Brian, and the professionalism and the courtesies that he extends, and she was completely complimentary Mike on the way you guys handle everything, and we don't get complimented that much. So I want to make sure that that's on public record of how they feel about him at that point. And that's all I got right now.
So that's Mike Jones.
Mike Jones and Dave Pennell.
Okay, thank you. Mr. and Sarah.
Thank you. I have a few things. So, as we know, the trash is up and up and running soon. The company, some of the company was here last week. Went over the trucks and things, for the trucks. We started training our people to get accustomed to the trucks, to use the trucks, and they actually went out throughout the township. Just make sure that they get accustomed to the right-hand driving and all that. As a matter of fact, Mr. Stewart, he was here today, he was out here, and he did the feel for us. So the training will be ongoing until we eventually start the going with the dams and the actual collection line, which that will be starting date, delivery date for the trash cans, March the 3rd.
March the 3rd is when we anticipate giving it to the residents in Walmart, starting March 3rd?
March 3rd, we'll be going out to the residents.
Oh, that's a week from today, right?
Yes, next Monday. On the March 17th will be the actual date that we will be picking up the trash recyclables with the new trucks. I say the guys are training on it, and the training will continue until the day. Paul's going to have that on he said something video, hopefully, starting tomorrow.
It'll be on UTTV, the website, and put it out on social media.
Good.
And hopefully at the media we will sampling with us and put it in the paper so that people know what's going on.
So did you guys get that date for the newspapers too?
March, next Monday, the 3rd, cans will be here brought and delivered. Not all at once, but it's that starting date. And on the 17th, we'll start actually, the actual start of our collection.
We're going to be able to give out that many cans in 10 days, 10 working days?
We start by what?
We actually have the company delivering it,
Yeah.
and they set it up in the tractor trailers.
Not as far as our employees being able to get that many cans out and set up.
We don't have to.
No,
the
company does it.
Cascade delivers the containers.
That's what I'm saying. They're going to be
over 5 days.
Yeah, their tractor trailer, and they're going to just go at it.
Okay, good.
Also, with the delivery of the new food mower, that's better one. That's gonna help us in summertime to reduce, to not reduce, but give us more time to the public works department to do other things. Moving on, and also I want to say with Bishop, one of our trucks, which is one of the better ones, with a rear loader filter on it. And that price was what, $3,700?
Almost 3,400 was our state contract price.
State contract was.
And then the other price we received was 3,700.
Right. And that's going to be done by local contractor. On that, that's all on that. Now, last week I met with the schools, Borderline and Formieri. They have actually some summer projects they would like for us to do. One being the grading and the fill at the playground that we already installed at the primary and elementary school. The other is the area where the playground at the primary school and the chain link, the curb, and the training will be done. Now, they're also asking to parking there, want to increase the parking capacity. There's some curb that needs to be done, asphalt, and some, they're asking us to do grading. And also need Paul's assistance for that.
I'm meeting with them tomorrow.
And they want us to install the pavilion. They're going to supply that and what's going to install it. So these are, I guess we need a motion to approve this.
You would need a motion and a second and a vote. The Township Committee, under the contract, they make requests, and if we can fit it in and do it, they obviously have to pay for the cost of it. Then we agree to do it, but the Township Committee has to review it first to say, yes, we can use our manpower to do that. And that's what you would need the motion in a second. If that's what you're proposing, that's...
Yes, I talked to Roy, and he has no problem doing this. He feels that we can do that at some time. And in addition to that, there's some new state mandate locks that they need. They're asking us to do that, also install the locks. They're supplying the investment to install that. In return, I asked them to, as we know, we took possession of the Senior Citizen Center. Among other things, that needs to be cleaned on a daily basis, which they agreed to do for us and no charge.
So they're going to supply the custodian work for the senior center?
Yes.
That's on a daily basis, Tony?
Yes, once a day has to be done, before or after, before 8:30 or after.
That should be memorialized, if part of the motion.
Yeah, because we probably should do that separately, only because wasn't there also, we're trying to ensure that the electric is now put in the township name?
Yes, electrical and more utilities.
I'm just saying that there should be some kind of written memorialization of that understanding with the school district.
Right, so
a motion or?
If the Township Committee wants to move forward, then you would make a motion to have our staff do those requested items for the school board with the understanding that they're going to take care of maintenance at the senior center.
okay, is that your motion?
Yes.
Second?
Any other discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Parr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
And just so that we know that they say that whatever money we save them, they're going to use that for further repairs to the schools. Last thing I have here, it has been through time, there's been some complaints, not complaints, but people, there's no way for them to be here and at the school at the same time, school meeting at the same time. They asked me if we could have the school change the meeting date, which I don't think that we could ask them to do so. But it will probably be, in my opinion, be better for us to maybe change our meetings instead of being the second and fourth. They for us first and third, Monday and Monday. We separate the meetings, everybody can hear, and then we could reach out to the schools, see if they'll change theirs, and if they're not. And I think we should, because people do want to go to both, and obviously, it is what it is, but they have not been able to do so because it's on the same level.
Well, there are some issues that we need to consider. There's a holiday, on a Sunday, it always falls on a Monday, so you're going to have potentially, you know,
Well, I mean, so it's a month, we're not changing the day, we're just changing so that it's 7 and 4.
no, I'm just saying that we're gonna have, we could potentially have a substantial amount of Tuesday meetings, if the way holidays work out. Because the first Monday is usually, could be Labor Day, could be,
Well, I mean, that's something we should think about, because people will like to be here and at school, so I, for one, when it is on, I can't even work this the same. I just know it's out there.
well, that's a major change for the Township Committee. We have met the second and fourth Mondays, as long as I've been on this committee, which is now 17 years, so.
If we're telling the people, I think it's something we should look into that, and see what we do wrong.
But I mean,
So, you know, the school did change theirs, they're meeting once, they have changed the warrant, they went back to where it was before. Don't know what the reason is, and,
well, the other thing to consider, and I'm not trying, I'm just bringing up things that we could potentially run into. When we have a month that has 5 Mondays in it, we're going to potentially go almost 4 weeks without a meeting. And that could happen. So, I mean, that's, you know, that's one of the reasons why we're in second and fourth, to keep us somewhat coordinated with schedules in the month. So, I'm just bringing up different examples as to what we need to consider.
I don't know if we, what the ins and outs of this thing, but, that's it, I'll throw it out, and, we should,
In fact,
we came to this, and, perhaps maybe talk to schools and see if we wanted to change theirs.
We had some comment on that last meeting by Ted Kingston. He's mentioned it a couple times, that it would be nice to be able to have these meetings on alternate nights, whether we moved or whether the school board moved, to enable the citizens who would be interested in coming to both meetings, the opportunity to see what's happening.
Well, we should afford them the opportunity to go to both, not just ours, or others of all.
okay, well, let me just, again, I'll give you an example. September, we would meet on September 1st, I'm not sure if that's Labor Day, but let's just say. Okay, so we would meet on the 2nd, and then we'd meet on September 15th, and then we wouldn't meet again until October 6th. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then in December 1st and 15th, then we wouldn't meet, well, I guess that would work out because of the holidays, but, you know, that's just things we need to look at, because I think 4 weeks is too long to go without a meeting.
We, you know, like, we're one of ours, I said, we have Monday, on Tuesday, you know, and 4.
No, but what I'm saying is, we really need to look before, I don't mind switching, but before we do that, we really need to plan this a little bit, because in the months where we have 5 Mondays, and we do the first of the month, we're gonna go a month without a meeting. And that's the problem.
That's a little study on to see, reach out to the schools, see if they are going to change theirs.
Maybe the way to do this would be, you know, take out a calendar, like you said. I agree with you, 4 weeks would be too long to go between meetings, but maybe we could stretch it out to 3 and 3 in that month of September.
Well, the only problem with that is then you start conflicting with what we're trying to do, and our obligation is to the residents, and we need to make sure that they're aware when the meetings are.
Correct.
So, I mean, you know, I don't know, we don't have obviously a lot of attendance tonight, but people do realize that our meetings are second and fourth Mondays. So I think we just need to be cognizant how we do it. I'm not opposed to switching the Mondays. That doesn't affect me either way, we still got to meet. I just want to make sure that we do it in a way that doesn't curtail our responsibilities. And
I'm not saying just, you know, do it now, let's look into this and see whether or not it's feasible, we can do it on our end, or maybe perhaps the school will be willing to do that, so. It's just an idea right now, so I guess we'll go with it.
But understand, one of the reasons why we went to videoing the meetings was so that people could see what, you know, what we're talking about. I realize there are people that want to attend, but, you know, I think that we need to balance it.
You know, the budget, we had our budget session, they had the same amount, they had their budget at the session. You know, people want to be in both places, and there's no way they can do it.
Okay. Well, we'll take into consideration, Barbara, I'm going to have to ask you to take an assignment just to kind of look at it and see how we reasonably could work this out. And I'm not sure how it affects with the payroll either.
Because they did have separate from us.
Sure, no problem.
Okay?
That's all I have.
All right. Mr.
A
Barr.
couple things to report on. First, another rabies clinic was very successful, probably mainly due to the weather. It was very warm, so everybody brought their cats and dogs out. We had probably about 150 vaccinations, so it was very successful as far as our anti-rabies programs go. I also had the opportunity to attend the Upper Township Chiefs meeting, and here's something for you, Dan. I think you've got some guidance. Due to the water tower, the anticipated water tower that is the application that's coming through, public safety has pretty much requested to see what they would have to do to go about getting a reserved spot on the tower for communication purposes.
I don't know if that was addressed at the zoning board. Paul, are you aware?
They're going to be heard this coming month. Last month, it was on the night of the pending snowstorm. We didn't get snow, but from where they were coming, so they haven't been.
What I would suggest is that the fire companies send a letter to the zoning board requesting that they provide access free of charge to their antennas for communication purposes.
Well, actually, in our preliminary discussions that Paul and I had, when about the tower, they had already pretty much conceded that they'd be certainly willing to do that.
But that's the only time that the township will have input, and it's a zoning board application because of the height, correct?
Correct.
So go back to
The fire company should be advised to write a letter to the zoning board secretary asking the board to address this question, and if they really are concerned, they should show up at the meeting and ask the question.
Okay.
And perhaps even talk to the attorney for the water company to confirm the position of the water company prior to the meeting.
What Jay Farr already had a conversation with them. Did you find it, Jay?
No, not with the water company. I don't think anything formally has been done yet.
No, but informally, like I said, Paul and I discussed it with them, and they are certainly amenable to that. Okay, I really don't have much this evening. I did meet with the new head, I'm not sure what the exact title is, of the state troopers in Woodbine. We went over some of the things. He plans on putting additional radar, electronic radar, speed signs, or whatever they're called, on Corson Tavern Road. He also was cognizant of the fact that we're talking about putting one on Stagecoach, and he said that he thinks he may have the availability of some additional ones that he will certainly post in different areas throughout the township. He's just asking for us to identify areas. And we had a discussion on, and this is something, Dan, that I'll have to ask you about, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about, if we could somehow support, he wants to build some additional equipment, exercise equipment and things that they have at the existing barracks. Now, I said that I didn't think that we would be able to fund something that wasn't a part of the township public residents, that would benefit the public residents, but I suggested that, we may get together with the other towns to see if we can do some kind of fundraiser, because he said that, it certainly would be something in their training that they need to have some of this equipment. So in an effort to, ensure that they have, what they feel they need, we'll have to work with the other towns, but am I correct in saying that we couldn't directly fund money to them from our budget?
I'd have to look into it, but I believe that as long as it was in furtherance of your, residents' interests, you could, as long as it was a rational basis for it. But obviously it's a budget item and a question on that, and is it just going to be exclusive for Upper Township, or is it going to be for all the other municipalities that they serve? And it's not going to be yours, it would be theirs once you provide it.
Right.
So those are the issues you have to address.
And
I think you
I've had
could do
some
it.
informal discussions with, some of my colleagues on, as to ideas. And, I think we've kind of landed on potentially doing maybe working with some towns doing a fundraiser or something, but.
Well, let me give you an analogy. We're wholly separate from the fire districts.
Yeah, and that's what I use as the example.
And they have their own budget, they run their own facilities, they own their own facilities. However, on occasion, they'll come to us and say, could you support this program or help us monetarily? I think we do physicals for them, if I'm not mistaken.
There was a time.
There was a
It's
time
not
we
done
didn't do
now.
that.
But I don't think we do them now.
Okay,
No, we
but
don't.
I'm just saying that we have done things like that in the past.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that since we unfortunately had to institute a local purpose tax, that we don't have the ability of funding some of those things on the outside that we did in the past.
I don't know the answer to that. That might be a specific regulation that I'm not aware of. I'd have to look it up.
Okay. Well, in any event, it was a great meeting. I see a lot of enthusiasm. He certainly wants to support. He's asked us, and Barbara came in, I had her come into the meeting as well. He wants to know when the events are happening in Upper Township so that he'll make sure that there's enough staffing to be able to support a lot of the activities that are here. We told him that, from time to time, we have some activities that are fundraisers, and that there, and he was aware of the triathlon that has taken place here, for several years. So he's interested in having a calendar built up, and I know Barbara kind of committed that she would, help him with that. So it was a good meeting, and I think we'll have a good rapport. And he seems to think he'll be here for the next 5 years. So that, I think, also works well for the township, so we have some stability over there. It seems like, that's what I said, so it seems like it's a revolving door there. I mean, it was only about 6 months ago the other individual came in. So anyway, he seems very congenial. He's familiar with the area. He has worked at the Woodbine Barracks in the past, so he's very happy to be here. So that's a good thing for all of us. All right, so with that, I'd say let's move on to the resolutions.
Okay. Item number 1, authorizing the mayor and township clerk to sign a contract with Marsh McLennan Agency for insurance and broker consultant services.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 2, appointing Raymond Lauriello as a temporary electrical subcode official on an as-needed basis in the absence of the permanent electrical subcode official.
Move the resolution. Second.
This memorializes our discussion from the last meeting. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 3, authorizing the mayor and township clerk to sign and submit a safety contract for participation in the Atlantic County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund 2014 Safety Incentive Program.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 4, honoring Cub Scouts of PAC 79 on attaining the Arrow of Light Award.
Move the resolution.
Many names. Let's see.
Second, and after we memorialize this, we'll invite them to come for a presentation.
Yes.
Okay? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 5, annual progress report to update the Township of Uppers chapter of the Cape May County Multi-Jurisdictional All Hazards Pre-Disaster Mitigation Plan.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Is there any questions on this? Anybody want to know what this is?
This is an update that we're required to do annually, and typically we do it annually as part of the CRS certification, and this is, you've seen most of this that we did back in September as part of our CRS certification for floodplain management.
And just for the benefit of our new commitment, the CRS is
The community rating system that we get lower flood insurance premiums for. And we had received an award for emergency generator from FEMA for a hazard mitigation grant for the rescue squad building. However, in order for the FEMA to make an ultimate award, you have to, for any mitigation project, that project has to be identified in your hazard mitigation plan. Since this was something that was not identified in our plan, we have to do as part of an update and make those types of projects available in our plan. And if you look at the last section in the update report, it discussed several projects, one being for energy resiliency at our critical facilities, but also the other hazard mitigation projects that we had submitted for as far as Superstorm Sandy. So once this is memorialized, that'll be part of the documentation that we use for formal submission for the energy grant to get an emergency generator at the rescue squad.
Okay. If there's not any other questions, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 6, 2014 revised temporary budget.
Second?
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, under ordinances. Introduction and first reading of ordinance number 2, 2014, an ordinance vacating Adams Avenue adjacent to block 417 through 424 within the Township of Upper, County of Cape May, in the state of New Jersey.
A question on that?
Yes.
Dan, is this ordinance based on the discussion we had 2 meetings ago as Mr. Clayton was here?
Yes. And he's,
The question I would have, and I just want to make sure, did we not talk about putting a piece of that property up for auction?
he had 2 requests. One was to purchase township lots, the other was to vacate the street.
Okay.
In order to have the purchase include the vacated portion, the purchase has to come after the street vacation if you are so inclined to vacate the street. One of the other conditions is we need to make sure on all these street vacations that anyone in the area who has lots doesn't have a problem with the street being vacated. And I don't think that's an issue here because I think this is all Mr. Clayton's property and maybe the township's.
And there was one other property owner, and they were okay.
And then the second item that we had indicated that we needed clarification on was whether or not the various entity that the Claytons hold title to the lots in this area, do they all agree and will they consolidate into one lot when all is said and done? And my understanding is we received a letter from Dolores Clayton. It was somewhat ambiguous, but this resolution makes it the ordinance makes it very clear that Ralph Clayton, Dolores Clayton, and Clayton Equipment Corp., which are the representatives from all those entities, has requested and will proceed with the street vacation. The consolidation will come as a condition if and so the township wants to go forward with the sale of those other lots, which is a completely different ordinance.
Okay.
The ordinance, though, does include beyond what the original request was. Mr. Clayton had requested just to be vacate the Adams Avenue for one set of block. However, as you see, there's multiple blocks associated with that. The township owns all the adjacent property for the other 3 blocks of street beyond that. And as part of the tax map changes that we have to go through in the future as far as the normalization request that the Division of Taxation has requested for us to do, it's going to make this street vacation, if we vacate the rest of them, will make that normalization easier for the tax assessor to effectuate the changes necessary. So we have administratively added the extent of the street vacation by 3 blocks from the original request.
Paul and I talked this morning, and it's his opinion, Paul, I'll let you reiterate it, but it's his opinion that it's not needed. The balance of that street that the township's vacating, that's adjacent to township property, is not needed in now or in the future, and it would be efficient to have it all vacated in one shot rather than just the portion that the Claytons asked for.
So the portion of the street that is being vacated that is adjacent to the township property will be deeded over to the township property or combined with the existing township properties?
Correct.
And then the portion that is adjacent to the Clayton lots will be deeded over to Clayton lots?
Right, and then the other property owner, which is the estate of Vincent Gerard, will get the other balance in the areas that they're affected by.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion before we make a motion to introduce? And this is an introduction of the ordinance, so there won't be any public comment until we determine what date we'll have the public hearing. So would someone like to make a motion to introduce this ordinance?
Second?
Okay, and let's clarify the date. So, Barbara, are you comfortable with the March 24th date?
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right, so would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 8, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 3, 2014, an ordinance vacating a portion of Mistletoe Avenue adjacent to portions of Block 508 and Block 497 within the Township of Upper.
Before the committee moves forward on this, I'm going to suggest that it be tabled for this meeting. While this ordinance was being prepared, it was discovered that one of the adjacent property owners, not the requester, it's the property owned by Eustace and Janice Eggy, they actually are under an agreement to purchase adjacent lots owned by the township. I believe they're lots, I think 17, 18, maybe possibly 19 as well.
Yes.
And those lots, actually 18 and 19, not 17. 17 is owned by the Eggies. Their attorney still has not completed the required deed of consolidation. As we talked about with the Clayton request, we ask people if they want to buy the township properties, we don't want them to have separate lots to be able to go in and build undersized houses and create more development, residential development. So it's always been the policy of the township committee to say, look, you can purchase our adjacent land if you're going to use it as part of your existing lot. We're still waiting on a deed of consolidation proposal from the Eggies. What would happen if you move forward? They would have to redo their entire purchase ordinance again, because the lots that we would be selling to them are now larger. So the appraisals would have to be redone, the ordinance would have to be redone. In my opinion, you'd have to have another public hearing. I know Barbara, brain freeze. Barbara has been in contact with the Eggies and explained to them that they need to get their lawyer on this. I suggest we table it. We can introduce it, but rather than introduce it and then table the public hearing in case somebody came out and wanted to talk about it, I suggest we don't introduce it this meeting, put it on for the agenda for introduction at the next meeting, and in the interim, either the clerk's office or my office will send out correspondence to the attorney and say, look, you have to complete this transaction, otherwise you are going to have to pay the cost and expense and have a secondary expense of going through the whole process for the land purchase again, and give them a deadline that fits within the introduction. So that's my suggestion. I would ask that if you agree that the motion to table it and put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
So would someone like to make a motion to table?
So moved.
Second?
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Okay, item number 9, under new business, Upper Township PTA request to hold a raffle on April 3rd, 2014 in Upper Township, and this is to be held at the Upper Township Middle School.
Second. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 10, Greater Tuckahoe Area Merchants Association request to hold a raffle on May 4th, 2014 at Amanda's Field.
What portion of Amanda's Field are they going to use, or why is it outside?
It's going to be outside because they also have a pending request for their
Bike-a-thon
annual
or something?
bike-a-thon.
Okay.
I'm still waiting for some more paperwork to come in on that before I put that before.
Okay.
Yes, it's on the same day, I believe.
Yes, it'll all be on the same day during that event.
Move to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 11, under discussion, amending revised general ordinance, Chapter 24, solid waste and recyclables of the Code of Upper Township.
Okay, who's addressing, Paul, who's addressing us on this?
Dan, were you gonna?
Well, I can tell you what needs to be done. We have to amend our ordinance, and John and I talked, and Tony and I talked. We have to amend the ordinance to reflect we are going to an automated system. One of the, I guess, the main questions that we have is the charge for the additional carts, and I think in the proposed ordinance that has been circulated to the Township Committee, it has $100 for an additional cart. In talking to John and Tony, my understanding is that sounds reasonable. Perhaps the ordinance, though, based upon maybe changes in the future, could have it as set by resolution of the Township Committee at time to time based upon costs and efficiencies or those type. That's the main question. Other than that, you saw in your package a sample proposed ordinance. There's some technical revisions that have to be done. But what I would like to do, because we are, from Tony's comments, it's going to be implemented next month, I'd like to have it scheduled for introduction at the next meeting. You'll have to amend the ordinance, and then you have to amend the rules and regulations to reflect the automated system.
The $100 is for the 95 gallon, 96 gallon?
Yes,
Or is it-
that's my understanding, Paul, from the research previously.
What's it, 64?
Or was it for any?
I think it should be for any.
All right, so it's all of them. Obviously, there's incorporated into that a fee and a cost for the time and trouble to have to get delivery of that extra can. Because it's not going to, it could be any time. It's not just when the company delivers them this time. It's, somebody could call up 2 years from now and say, I need 2 extra cans, I just moved into the town and one's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my concerns when we talk about this with the trash cans is senior citizens that can't handle 95. Now, if we're going to give them 95 and now they have to take a 64 and they need 2 64s, I think it'll all be prorated. I mean, we're forcing, you know, where they have to have these extra cans, and they got to go smaller, now they got to pay the difference in the price. I think it should be prorated to 65 or 70, somewhere in that area myself.
But they already have selections to which ones they want, this is after the fact.
But if they need the additional can, again, they won't know until after the cans, until we implement the program.
Right.
You know, I don't have a problem with 100 for the 95, but I think, again, we're putting a burden on some of our older and handicapped citizens.
The cost difference is about $7, our cost
Yeah.
between the two, so there's not a big cost difference between the two.
That's fine, and like I said, that was my concern is that, you know, we hear all the time that the cans have big wheels and easy to pull, but if they're 300 pounds, they're 300 pounds, regardless how big or how small they are. And I just don't want to put the burden back on people that can't handle these cans.
Yeah, as Paul said, the cost difference between the 96 and 64, so it's
So that helps me there, that's for sure.
So I guess what I would just need direction that there isn't any other questions in that, those proposals. Now, we did pick out, there is one area that I think I should mention that I am going to change from the proposals that you saw, and John and I talked about this. There's a section on recycles. If you bear with me, I'm going to pull it up. The electronics, you may have seen an article in the paper recently about it, that the county's having trouble.
E-waste.
Right, the e-waste. I think the suggestion is, if I'm not mistaken, is that we would want to make the homeowner provide disposal of that rather than the township.
Yeah, we're gonna have to address this in the Township Committee where there may not be an outlet for this e-waste in the very near future.
We're currently disposing of it at no charge. We're collecting it and
Anyway,
we dispose of it at our shop.
E-waste.
E-waste. We collect it, it comes into our facility, we put it in a Goodwill container, Connex box, and then they come and pick it up and remove it at no charge to the township. So the only charge for the township is to go and collect the e-waste from all the residents. There's no disposal costs.
Are they processing the electronic waste and giving us a disposal receipt for it? Or-
We get a receipt for what they take, so we get recycling credit for the
Okay,
e-waste.
so we are getting a disposal receipt?
Yes.
Okay,
No, but I think you're making a point. Are you saying you're looking for a generator, that's what they call it, where you're assured that it was disposed of properly? Isn't that, because they know, that's what they do with biohazard. So when you have somebody pick up your biohazard, you have to have a record of when it was actually destroyed.
We get a receipt for recycling credit.
Okay.
It's up to them to do the,
It's a little bit different than what you're talking about, it's a certificate of destruction.
Right.
But we're getting a legitimate recycling receipt, so this is going from Goodwill to a processing center, and they're somehow...
they're handling it, and what they do with it, I'm not exactly sure.
Where it pertains to the ordinance, and there's a couple things within this same realm. The e-waste is currently picked up curbside. We may want to consider having the residents take the e-waste to the drop-off point at the township, so we're putting it into their container. I would also suggest that we may want to consider the same thing with oil. Instead of sending a truck around to do the oil route and oil collection, it may get some of our manpower off the street and apply that labor to places where it's a little bit more beneficial.
Well, the oil is just collected along, they don't go out on a special route to collect oil. That's collected, one of the trucks that's already on the route picks it up.
Where are they putting it in the truck?
Well, right now, it's done on the recycling route, and they put it in a bin underneath.
Okay.
But the compost truck could probably pick it up and take over that.
All right, because I would say you probably won't have that opportunity on the automated trucks.
But they can do it with the compost truck, or the inspector can do it, because there's not a lot of oil waste. Or the bulk truck.
And is the e-waste picked up during the bulk pickup?
Yes.
And you're already making a route, so...
Well, it's a separate truck.
Separate truck, separate crew out there picking up.
Usually the truck picks up electronics and/or sometimes metal or appliances.
If it's
white
not
goods.
a major hindrance or tax on our budget, I think if we had the people bring it down to a dump spot or to a drop-off spot, we're going to wind up with an enforcement issue. And I've seen it in the past because enforcement, they're just going to dump it on the back road. And, it's a minimum cost of the township not to have things dumped in the woods. I think it's beneficial for us just to continue to pick it up. There's practically no way to find out who dumped it to enforce it. But it's just, I know when we had the issue with tires, they were all through the woods,
We don't collect tires.
Yeah, we do.
No, we do.
But we do. Yeah.
It's a limited amount.
I thought it said in the ordinance we did.
Again, I think it's up to 4 years.
Yes.
If we're not looking at substantial cost, I think it's a service we need to keep to.
I thought it was something like 4 a year or something.
Something like that.
Okay, we got used and junk auto parts shall not be collected. Used auto tires shall not be collected.
That was something that...
That's in the ordinance, I mean,
That's actually in the proposed ordinance. I don't know if it was in the existence. That's changed, correct?
That was a change that we had talked about before. It just didn't get changed in the ordinance.
It never changed.
Right.
It's not, in our current ordinance, we do pick up. This is a proposed change.
I got you.
In there.
Now,
But that's coming, I guess what I'm asking, I need direction, so what you're going to introduce at the next meeting. Right now, used auto tires will not be collected under this proposed ordinance. If you want them collected, I got to change that.
yeah, I think we should leave it what it was before. We are collecting, but it's all said, we're going to end up in the woods somewhere. We don't want
It becomes a major trash enforcement issue. And before we talk
No, we want to do a
about...
limit on something per year, we should pick.
And we're looking at somebody doing a route once a month. So it's not like...
There are some places that refuse that they actually have.
So if I understand you correctly, the metal scrap, the auto parts, the electronics, batteries, all those things are going to continue the way they had been.
I think they should.
Rather have ended up in somewhere that was...
Yeah, I mean, the tires, besides just throwing them in the woods, it also creates an infestation with mosquitoes and stuff. It's a breeding.
I just need direction, because of the proposal from, I guess, last fall when Paul first worked on the the ordinance was to, I guess, really just change the tires. I don't think there was much change with any of the other items.
No, the tires wasn't maintained at that time, you're right. So we're picking up tires.
Okay.
Before. And we,
No, I think, because I thought we limited though to a maximum of...
You did, you did.
that thing was already 10, I was thinking.
10?
No, it was already 10.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I
No, it
thought
wasn't.
before.
All right.
It was never limited. We never have a limit on collecting tires, never.
Oh, you know, but I thought it was a limit.
Yeah, I did too.
Currently, we don't, I guess it says we don't collect auto parts, we don't collect pallets.
Are you looking at the proposed, or are you looking at
I'm looking
existing?
at the current ordinance. We don't collect automobile batteries. I think
Well,
that,
those would even have to be turned in this time, right?
well, you do sometimes you get a core for the battery.
Right, so once we return that, you're right, don't worry, you're right, that's all.
The existing ordinance has tires, used tires shall be placed to the curb or roadside on bulk trash collection day only.
Right, tires are collected, it says in the old ordinance, I see that now.
Number 10.
You want to put a number on that before? If there's no number on that, I think,
It's gonna be a problem, policing it,
for what?
it's gonna be a problem, policing it, I don't know.
If they have 6 out there, you take 4.
Well, at that time, I think I had 4,
But then you have the same problem you just argued.
No,
Well, in the rules and regulations isn't that where the inconsistency was in the tires? There was the rules and regulations had a limit, but the actual ordinance did not have a limit, and that's...
Right.
I'm just saying, we're trying to force trash, and someone has a bag of trash sitting next to it.
4 per.
You're talking about a very few number of residents that actually put them out. Very few.
We have quite a few people who put tires out.
The people that put them out are the scrap people that scrap cars, and because the junk yards don't want the tires, they take the tires off, put them at the curb, so we'll collect them and pay for disposal, and then they take the junk car and get
I think we should limit it to 4 at any given.
removal at, and they get paid for the disposal.
Well, we have to try some
Other
other
than the scrap business, we get rid of what they don't want.
Yes.
So if I understand the general discussion at the township level, the committee level, I'm sorry, with respect to disposal of the tires, the limit that's in our rules now, even though it's not codified in the ordinance, is what you'd like to see in the ordinance. So this person gets 4 per year, or whatever it is.
It's 4 for
collection.
whenever bulk's picked up.
I think the current rules say 4 per year.
That's what I thought. Yeah, but I think for the most part, when people get their tires changed, the garage takes the tires.
It's charged.
They charge it for
Yeah,
them.
we're not talking about, we're not talking about, that's the other thing, we're talking about doing the actual scrap cars from their residents. Those are the ones that,
Again, I'd rather see the township collecting them and disposing of them than having them piled in the woods. I know that, back when I was zoning official here and in Dennis Township, there was a major problem in the state parks and all down through the Bay Area. They had aerial views of tires piled up 50, 60 feet in the air, an acre wide, where the guys that were going around to the gas station picking up the tires were being paid to dump them, and they were piling them out in the woods. And there's major fires in a couple of the other states. So again, I mean, if it ensures us that we're not going to have an issue with them being thrown in the woods, I think it's definitely worth picking them up. Maybe 4 is not the correct number.
Well, you have to defer to what the experience has been. Do you have any knowledge in prior years as to whether or not it's a problem for residents or not?
I don't think it should be more than 8 myself. I mean, that's, if you have 2
Well,
cars.
the only thing we have to realize is barring writing down where you're picking the tires up from, you're not going to really remember what's being picked up anyway. So may make more sense if we're landing on picking up tires, let's not put a limit on it. Let's just, we're not going to be able to hold to compliance anyway, so.
yeah, there's no way to police it.
Right. So let's just, don't put any number on it, and if we have an issue, then we'll address it individually.
Or, well, somebody comes in and says somebody's recycling, and they're piling their tires out there, and they're running a commercial business out of their property, and we shouldn't be picking them up anyway.
It's hard to prove that.
Well, I know it is, but if somebody continuously has tires out there every month, then we're gonna have to take a look at it.
Hard to prove.
I know. But we're gonna have to make an effort.
We're picking up tires.
So did you get what you need, Dan?
I think I have it. I'm gonna try and word that says for residential use, it's not business pickup, not profit motive, it's personal residential use of tires that they used themselves. It doesn't solve your problem, because if somebody's got a business on the side, they'll just go dump those tires. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, but again.
They will give us some leverage, yeah.
What I would say though, if whoever's picking the tires up continuously has 8 to 10 tires out there every month, then they need to put a flag up to our code enforcement and have more review done on the property.
Yeah, I think I addressed most of the questions that we had gone over previously, unless the Township Committee has any other issues. Obviously, it will come up for an introduction, so you're going to get the formal document at the next meeting, and hopefully you'll introduce it, and I don't know what the turnaround, but obviously it'd be nice to have it turned around at or about the time that we're implementing the system. But I'll leave that up to the clerk's office as to how comfortable they feel about getting it in the paper. Okay?
Item number 12, proposed animal welfare ordinance amendment.
All right, early this past winter, of course, everybody knows that we've been experiencing harsh weather conditions. And there were some recommendations brought to our attention by Dr. Holland and his staff from Shore Vets, who also does our animal control. There is he pointed to Wildwood, the borough of Wildwood, who just adopted some changes to their ordinance. And the ordinance, the Reader's Digest version, covers pretty much the treatment of your dogs and your cats. The first section would cover the tethering and chaining of animals on the property.
Just let the committee know, we already have a substantially similar provision in our ordinance now. I didn't mean to, I apologize for cutting you off, but just, we probably would keep our own tethering and chaining regulations that we have now, because they're very similar to the ones that they suggested from Wildwood. Their concern primarily was the care and sheltering of the animals in adverse weather conditions.
Yeah, but they're also talking about prohibiting after sunset and before sunrise, so they're saying dogs shouldn't be tethered or chained during the evening hours. Is that right?
There are hours of the day that they can be tethered or chained. Under certain weather conditions, they're looking at the weather conditions because of the harsh weather conditions we've had.
In both ways, both
fortunately,
cold and hot.
Exactly. I mean, we've experienced extreme cold conditions.
We have those already in our ordinance.
Okay.
They're already,
The tethering?
yes. That's what, we did that about, I'd say 3 or 4 years ago. It was a similar type request. It came from the animal welfare organizations, and we did change that ordinance. If you look in your package, there actually is a section of our ordinance so you can see it.
But just to add to it, I mean, it's mainly to address these weather conditions that, unfortunately, this year they fielded several complaints. However, they didn't really have any enforcement capabilities because we don't have language in our present ordinance. So they're requesting that we add that language so they have some fight to the ordinance.
It's really to help the animal control officer enforce, frankly, cruelty issues with respect to bad weather.
Some of our fellow citizens, they fail to bring their pets in when it's extreme weather. Provide the proper, provide the proper shelter, and even the medical attention that dog can have.
If the Township Committee is so inclined, I just need direction to place prepare an ordinance amendment that reflects that, and present it to you at the next meeting for potential adoption, or introduction, I'm sorry.
So do you want it by motion, so you can move forward, or?
Just some kind of direction, like if you're okay with the changes proposed, I'm going to go and prepare an amendment to our ordinance that, for introduction. And if,
I think we're all in agreement.
I think I'll make a motion that Dan just continue, look at the ordinance that we have right now, and make the necessary additions that we have.
That would address the weather.
Address those additions.
I'll second the motion.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera? Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Okay, item number 13, Amanda's Field Volunteer Services Indemnification Agreement.
This is a follow-up to a discussion that occurred in terms of, I guess, setting the light poles for the construction of lights out at Amanda's Field, and whether or not workers or Atlantic Electric employees could volunteer their services to help the township that way. My understanding is that there was a discussion, I'm not sure who it was with.
Paul actually talked to him.
That they're concerned, they thought that they could do it, but they were concerned about liability in the event there was an accident during the process. I will tell you, I was present when it had to be over 10 years ago, probably 15, when they set the lights, and we use volunteer labor because the township has a number of Atlantic Electric employees that live in the township. And they were using volunteer services at the time. They were setting the lights at Caldwell Park, and one of them did fall over. And it was an interesting situation because on the field over, little boys and girls were practicing Little League when it happened. And they cleared the field, everybody's fine, but I guess it does happen sometimes because of the nature of the business that the pole tips and falls. And they had asked, as I understand it, they had asked would the township indemnify them since they're providing this service free of charge. I contacted our risk management consultant, Mr. Heist, while he always recommends that you get indemnification from the person providing you the services. He understands completely that this is free of charge, but he did tell me that there's email correspondence back and forth, that JIF would cover us in the event there was liability. But what you would be doing is, if there was an accident, you would assume the liability for that accident if it occurred while they were setting the poles. And you're covered, but it's not something you generally do, and you have to weigh the cost savings for the volunteer services versus, obviously, if you hire a contractor and they did it for you, they would have to stand by any liability and provide insurance and so forth. So the question is, do you want to proceed with a indemnification of Atlantic Electric if they'll provide that service free of charge?
And it's also beyond that, that was just one of the first questions of, they haven't said yes, they can or can't do it, so that, it was, we were finding out whether or not an indemnification could be offered, so that when we made a proposal to Atlantic Electric, that could be, we could include that up front and be up front with them about that.
Dan, I'm working on an electrician now that might volunteer the services to hook all the poles up. And they also have the capabilities of installing the poles if the electric company won't do it. So this would also cover them.
The electrician can set those poles? He has that kind of equipment?
Yeah, they have a bucket truck and they just pick it up. I mean,
it wasn't a bucket truck that did this setting when they set the poles. It was somebody, it was like a telephone pole.
Right. Well,
It was a big piece of equipment.
Bolted onto a foundation. Right, Paul?
Yeah, but Dan is correct, it's not just a small bucket
They
truck.
said they set them before.
Okay.
So.
All right. It's a huge piece of equipment, and it picks that pole up and lifts it, and it's like, I'm a layman, but it's kind of like pile driving to me.
The person I talked to said they set them before. Right now, I'm working on them to supply the proper people to hook everything up for us. We understand everything, but we need electrician.
Well, the donation of the services is not an issue. I guess Atlantic Electric says you can use our equipment and our employees, but if something goes wrong.
Well, they haven't
The idea was, but that was the first question.
That was one of the first issues.
Cart before the horse. We were going to go with the idea of asking for them to volunteer after we said that the committee has agreed to indemnify them.
Correct.
So,
Weren't we going to look for a document that we had in place?
well, that was part of the discussion,
Well,
because they claimed that they had done the lights at the skateboard park, right?
Well, no, we actually did find the document that they supplied, it came to Township Committee, and what they had done was, they had installed the street lighting throughout Amanda's Field. So all the lights along the roadway and in the parking areas, those were installed and paid for by Atlantic City Electric, as opposed to the township having to pay for them. So they did make a community
So-
involvement.
I mean, listen, no matter if we do it or we have our own employees do it, there's risk there. The only way of not having the risk is obviously contracting, and that could raise the cost substantially. So, I prefer that we consider the indemnification and make sure that there's a lot of precautionary steps that are put in place, that as the volunteers are working, that we don't run into an issue where there's someone having, some sort of athletic activity in an adjacent field or anywhere near where this is being done, so.
You just have to coordinate with their schedule.
You may have to cancel any activities in and around that field when they're being, when
But
it's being done.
to walk away from that type of possibility in potential savings, I think, with good safety measures put in place, and I'm sure we'll ask the rescue squad to make sure that they're there as well while this is happening, that, I would prefer that we consider doing the indemnification.
I agree.
Can we have a motion to offer indemnification in the event that they would provide it?
Second?
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes,
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Okay, item number 14, amending bond ordinance number 15, 2013.
This kind of goes along with the discussion that Hobie brought up earlier. There was just a request to have an additional $50,000 put into Purpose D, which is the recreation field improvements. So what I've done is taken $50,000 from the building facility security section and moved it to the recreation field improvements so that the lighting could be done. And I would get this, if you would approve it, I would get this changed to bond council. They would make this change on the draft amending bond ordinance, and then it could be introduced at the next meeting.
oh, we talked about, before, having this tremendous field possibly, full sports complex at some point. Is this a way, paving the way to that
Yeah.
direction, or?
What I'm trying to do on it is not do the work 3 times down there. If we don't put the bases in, and the concrete footings and everything in, we can't grade, we can't do anything down there, we can't finish any of the baseball fields without doing this first.
This is
Yeah.
it's going to lead us to that.
Absolutely. It's,
Eventually eliminate the rest of the fields that we have.
well, we'll be able to eliminate possibly some of the smaller fields. My biggest thing is, should enable us to consolidate our crews down
Right.
and not be running equipment all over.
So we're going to direction having the tremendous field being a sports complex, and
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is not only going to help in completing
No,
the facility, but it also is going to really live up to our end of the bargain as far as what I know, what I've been privy to from predecessors, that there was an agreement made that if baseball were to leave Caldwell, that they would have a lighted facility. So everything starts to fall into
yeah,
place.
this is the next big step to completing Amanda's Field, as far as.
that's what I'm asking. It's going to lead us to actually moving in the direction we want to move in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
Get the tremendous field to be a sports complex.
I think it'll probably wind up as our major hub for recreation. I'm sure we're going to have other fields out there because of the amount of kids we have involved in any other programs, but this will enable us to consolidate things down and I think also enhance what we can do there as far as car shows and craft shows, whatever. But again, we can't do this we can't grade until we get this done.
As far as this whole look at these fields, what do we have in the way of demographics in terms of, are there more children coming into the township? Is that a growing segment of the population? I would really be interested in, if we're going to spend this money in Amanda's Field, at looking to close most of the smaller fields and take it down to just Caldwell Park and Amanda's Field, rather than maintain multiple fields throughout the township.
Well, first of all, we have Summers Avenue where the girls play, the softball team, so that's an issue right there.
Well, if we're adding fields to Amanda's, then we could move the girls to Amanda's.
The problem you have is not just, the games I think we could handle, consolidating.
Okay.
Your practices, you have so many practices going on at the same time, we have to have fields where they can get on the practice.
Well, how many fields are we adding as far as baseball fields?
Right now, there's three that will be completed on this phase, and we have another 2 drawn in.
Okay, so we're looking at adding 5 baseball fields. We have 2 at Caldwell Park, so that gives us a total of 3 at Caldwell, so that gives us a total of 7.
And
Then we have Summers Avenue where the girls play.
there's 2 there.
And we've already closed the one at Old Tucker Road. We closed that last summer.
And we're using
also
one by
closed
the
school.
road department.
Excuse me?
For T-ball.
That's where C-ball and T-ball's played is over at the,
And Paul and I looked, possibly on the real big front field, we could always put 3 to 4 backstops on the corners.
Right.
And cut an infield for practices and still have the whole outfield as a multi-purpose field for lacrosse and or whoever else wants to be there. It's going to be phased in, that's for sure. But I think we're still looking at maintaining the Tuckahoe field back here, which is a good multi-purpose field for almost anything we want to do with it.
What, you talking about the one over here?
Yeah, whichever, not the one by the school, the one out back, across by Culver's. We have the one here that we maintain.
Which we use for soccer and for field hockey.
Right.
And
Caldwell Park will be Caldwell Park, that's going to be, when baseball's going, I would say, probably going to have football, maybe some lacrosse night games, soccer night games there, where it's more of a stadium event. Amanda's not going to be a stadium.
Well, why would we want to remove the baseball fields from Caldwell?
Well, it's not big enough, first of all. And we have a conflict with being able to use that field during baseball season for any other sport, because you can't play football there, you can't do anything out in that outfield because the goalposts come down. And it's so overutilized, we can't keep grass on the field either.
Okay, so you're talking about the field that's not lit.
No, the one field that they use for like
For
Babe
football.
Ruth and all them, that's a football field.
They practice.
Football practice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, with the hopes we can get them off the main field and utilize the back there as a Caldwell Park, most of the practice facilities. So we're gonna tear the field up and actually get that looking the way it used to. But I think we're looking at Caldwell Park, Summers Avenue, Amanda's, and then the fields that are right here. So what's good about that is all our equipment.
So how many fields would we be losing?
Just, the 3 baseball fields at Caldwell. The one that's here on Tuckahoe Road behind us.
Well, we're not losing, we're losing 3 baseball fields, we're just moving 3 baseball fields, but we're keeping the facility open. What I'm looking at is what's the trade-off? What are we taking out of our expenses and out of our maintenance to put all this additional money into Amanda's Field?
For me, it's a consolidation. Again, if we get this set up, we're not going to have the equipment being moved all over the township. We will be able to have the equipment in Caldwell Park, we'll be able to have equipment here. Equipment here will take care of this field, the Tuckahoe Road field, the old Tuckahoe Road field. It's all within driving distance. So, and it's more to consolidate. Caldwell Park is restricted as far as a large capacity use. You can't run tournaments there. So I think this opens the door up again for bigger functions for the township. I'm not seeing a great savings. I don't think you're going to see a great savings. The savings, it's going to be more, again, just being able to utilize what we have better than what we've been able to do.
The fields in Caldwell, John, were planned to be strictly football once
Okay.
baseball moved. That's why you're not really gaining all those baseball fields. You're probably just moving them out to Amanda's so that the other fields can be dedicated for different uses.
Our biggest issue is practice facilities.
So what we're talking about is essentially we're going to spend a lot of additional money in Manny's Field, where maybe it's something that we could do with scheduling.
Not really, because all the different sports are going to, like, baseball, where traditionally always used to be played in the spring.
Right.
They play fall now, so they can't play baseball in the fall at Caldwell Park because football usually is conflicting with football, so that's the biggest
We can't put
issue.
football there in the spring, and they're leaving spring football teams for the kids coming up now, so they need to go to an elite program to get them ready for high school. And there's so much in the conflict with the scheduling, which is horrendous.
So again, like Tom was saying, we're doing all this, people come and get the schedule, and watch out, because it's going to eliminate some of the fears, so we can start saving some money.
There are many, many requests, and we do not have enough facilities to accommodate
you ask about the
practices and games.
population that takes advantage of the sports. We may have seen a slight decline, but not significant. There are a number of kids in pretty much every sports program that we have there. I mean, we struggle for soccer fields. They have so many kids in soccer. The lacrosse has expanded significantly in the township. I guess we have to look at it in some ways that we're offering the kids, and hopefully it'll be everybody, an opportunity to utilize the sports facilities that, it's like a balance. I mean, we're fortunate that we have a relatively low crime rate, and part of that, I think, is attributed to the fact that we're supplying a lot of the needs for our children to play in a lot of sports activities.
I think you looked at the numbers. The kids' population here has stabilized over the years.
Right.
You have older people selling their homes to downsize, and families that are started replacing.
I think those are the kind of demographics, maybe that in order to make this plan be more understandable to the taxpayers, to get this on paper, to find out, how many of these teams we have, how many requests we have, what fields we have now.
That's what you're going to do on average. It's like right now, we had so many requests on the table, it's ridiculous, and we didn't see any 2 months ago.
Well, we should have some kind of a jumping off point, but at least we can illustrate it to the people in the township that we're going to take this, fairly large sum of money, we're going to put it into this field, and we're not going to be able to offset that with closing other fields. So I just think that we should be able to get something down on paper and be transparent in as much as this is where the need is, here's how we're meeting the need. Although we're going to continue to maintain the other recreation locations.
Don't get me wrong, sports and recreation is a wonderful thing, but then again, at one point you would say, enough is enough.
I think we've already said that.
The point trying to be on the citizens is to support all of these areas. And then after all, recreation is, let's face it, it's a luxury, So, when do we say enough is enough?
I think the township's already done that when they cut the budget as low as they did, and now the parents pay for the kids to play all over the township.
Well, they want to do it, if they want kids to play, they have to pay for it.
It's a getting fee in this township.
Yeah.
And again, I know in all the years that I've coached, 42 years, we've kept a heck of a lot of kids out of trouble.
And that's a wonderful thing, I don't know what.
You got to weigh in all the coaches, you got to weigh in your volunteer too.
I hope that, we'll keep doing that. In a sense, when we say, when do we stop? They say, okay, enough is enough. When do we stop putting the burden on the senior citizens of the township if they went to pay for these luxuries?
We already did that, with charging fees.
Well, maybe the fees have to go up.
It's a user's fee now to pay to play now.
But it might go up.
No, again,
We look at other fees.
I can just tell you, this recreation program used to be one of the best in the state, and it's no longer one of the best in South Jersey.
We're providing a lot of that stuff already, and when we say enough, if that's going to be a user's fee, and we use a fee, then
Well, the one thing that we've had some off discussions in the past. By further developing Amanda's Field with lights, could potentially have advantages for some of the discussions we had if, we could increase user fees for outside folks that were actually realizing some real value. I mean, most of the significant, whether it's sports activities or other kind of festivals or whatever, are being done, you know, and require lighting. So, you know, we could probably use it and simultaneously increase our fees, so that now that we could potentially have the opportunity to have those fields lit, they can be used for other things.
You know, do, so you mentioned in the past, maybe a concert or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
we have to know there's something, and then for me, it's the user street, and that's what has to be done.
Like I said, we've already done it.
It's a luxury. It's a recreational, but luxury. So, you know, when you use it, you have to pay for it.
It's a luxury unless you're an athlete trying to get into college. You know, I mean, everything is, it's all relevant. It's, you know, a better truck is a luxury too, and we can get away with minimums. So it's where we draw the line all the way across the board.
Exactly.
You know, I just, like I said, I talk to the parents, a lot of them out there, and again, we keep taking and taking and taking, and the average person in the township pays $300 to $400 for everything they have here. So what do we say, $10 by cutting it out per household? I don't get the rationale to the argument.
Well, you know, the average person, though, you know, a lot of us, $10, $15, $20, $50, $100,000, it's nothing. But, you know, when you go to the senior citizen, it goes
I'll tell you what,
$50.
When you go to the
I mean, you're suddenly going to keep asking for more and more and more. Where does it end?
I don't think it's an argument so much, is let's just quantify the plan and
The
make
plan
sure
is
it's
for
transparent.
Mansfield, it's been approved for Mansfield, and we're proceeding with the plan that's been approved, and it's been approved for close to 10 years.
Over 10 years.
So I don't see whether there's a discussion on those issues right now.
Is there any more land in this field that we could take and make that, you only one and only complex?
Well,
I don't know if we could handle the sewage for that.
well, then on top of it, that's another
That's another
expense, because
Yeah.
we have existing fields that we're utilizing now. And, you know, just for some history, Amanda's Field started because we realized we needed to have more fields. And we were fortunate to get it through a Green Acres purchase where we leased that land for $1 a year. And it was the old Tuckahoe turf farm that used to operate there. It certainly was, you know, cleared and leveled land, and that's really why the Township Committee, and this is, geez, I think that took place almost the first year or so that I was on the Township Committee, maybe a few years after that, but the idea was that it was purchased through county funds, and that the township didn't pay for the land, but the township agreed at that point to move forward to develop it into a recreational complex. Now, I can tell you that there was a lot of people, one of the reasons why the bike path, walking path, running path was developed, so that there'd be passive recreation for all ages, not just, you know, developing for kids. And I think we also have to realize that we've just approved to take on the responsibility of the senior center. Well, that's a great thing, right? And so I think we're offering some services that way too. So, you know, there is a balance, and I would agree. Listen, I agree with what everyone's saying, be cost effective, be, you know, feasible, but I mean, we could really devise a plan maybe to make it functional for us, to make it a valuable piece of land that we could utilize beyond just sports.
That's what I was just going to follow up with. No matter what we do, this is a work in progress. We're not going to see a savings in the next 5 to 10 years on whatever we do. It's going to be 15 to 20 years down the road when we see the savings. But if we don't get this part of it done, we know consolidation of fields. We're going to have fields all over the township. But it's going to be an ongoing thing. It's not going to happen this year or next year or 5 years from now.
Hey, what I'm saying is, what I'm hearing here is this is a plan that kind of was generated 10 years ago. We're working towards a finish, but in that 10 years, what has changed? So let's just take a look at the demographics 10 years ago versus what we have now. And just make sure that we're not overdoing it.
Recreational needs are the same as it was 10 years ago.
I would say they've expanded, if anything, John.
Well, they've certainly expanded the offerings of
Yeah.
I'm not sure the population statistics support that argument. And that's all I'm looking for, is let's just, you know, take a look at it from a...
But way to look at it is, 10 years ago, we didn't have girls field hockey, we didn't have lacrosse, we didn't have fall baseball. So we stop our kids from playing the sport on a year-round basis, then we can definitely fit into one spot. but then we're not going to offer what the other municipalities offer to these kids. And a lot of them are exceptional athletes. And I think, by not giving it to them, we also take away family value time.
I'm not suggesting that we take anything away from them. What I'm suggesting is just document that, so we have an opportunity to see that it makes sense.
I think it's already been documented when the park was designed.
Well,
So,
I think we probably, and this is something that the advisory committee could look at, is to start compiling, the attendance or those that are participants, I guess is what I'm looking for, in each one of the sports. And we can start making a running average. I would suggest that it probably overall is the same as it was 10 years ago. Maybe that changes with the population, but it seems to me that, I still have, I haven't, my sons participated in sports all through the time that they were eligible by age. They're grown, they're 33 and 31, so they're obviously, but I think that you'll find that, folks that have younger children in this, their kids are involved. I see my niece in that, they're playing all the time.
And my kids are all about it, and we have some great programs here, there's no doubt about it, the programs need to stay. It's more of a function of, as we expand, are we expanding into more than our actual needs are? And I just want to make sure that we're matching our facilities to what our needs are currently and what our needs are going to be down the road.
In answer to that question,
especially considering the population in this county that's been shrinking.
in answer to your question, I sat down with Paul to relook at the master plan, to make some changes. I sat down with the road department to look at the master plan. There's been a revised done. Again, I think we're looking down the road 5 to 10 years. We're not going to know because it's not time. But my goal is to consolidate.
Well, I think we can generate some statistics. I think it is a known quantity. We know how many sports we have. We know how many teams we have. We know how many times these teams practice. So I think what we're trying to do is demonstrate to the community that this is our need and this is how we're going to justify spending this money. More so than, throwing a dart at the board and saying, okay, well, we have a lot more sports now and more kids participate.
Just from a census standpoint, I know from the 2000 census to the 2010 census, we were probably one of the only populations in the county that we actually went up by maybe 200 population. So from an overall population base, we haven't changed over that, from 2000 to 2010.
Does that tie into the population in the schools?
I don't know that. I'm just going by the census.
Okay.
I'm just going by the census.
It's probably similar, but again, we have a lot of travel teams that are involved with kids from all over the place to play to.
From other townships?
And our kids go to their townships as well. So,
But that's not, there's two programs, there's a recreation program and there's a traveling program as well. There are a number of students that aren't in the schools that are going to private schools that still live in the township and take advantage of it.
Those, excuse me, if I might interject, those statistics are collected by my office on a yearly basis. We request that all the organizations submit to us their roster, their activities for the year, number of participants, and so forth. So that is information that we can very easily get to you.
Right, so it sounds like that's available, so all we need to do is get
I know there's a total, but, my thing is we have to move forward on this. It's been 10 years and we can't even make a step that finishes without the board.
Right now, all we're talking about is putting some money in a bond, but what I'm talking about is before we start actually spending this money, moving forward with the plan, let's just make sure we have a solid foundation as to why we're putting the plan in place and what the current statistics are.
I don't have that in my fingertips, but I can very easily get that. I can tell you just for an example, I have had 3 requests come in today, and one was for an event that's coming up this summer. They expect over 3,000 participants in that tournament. There was another one, they expect close to around 600, and then another one expects over a couple thousand.
Now, these are youth
participants.
programs for our township?
These are Upper Township organizations that will be hosting tournaments in the future.
That's how they make the money to support the program.
Right.
Township used to pay for it years ago.
We used to buy the uniforms and everything. I mean, you know, when I ran the football, it was $12 for your kid to play football. Now it's upwards of $100 for your kid to play football. And again, it's all relevant. You either charge a fee or you pay the tax. I mean, again, it's always been such a nominal amount of money, nobody's ever questioned it. Because of the amount of kids we keep off the streets. And that's something, you know, I don't think you can ever spend too much money, as long as we're not bankrupting ourselves or actually going out and borrowing all that money to do that. We can't depend on the schools to do it.
Well, it sounds like the numbers are readily available, so all that's necessary is...
But again, I just,
Get the plan in place.
I was hoping to be able to get this rolling, you know, within like...
Well, there's no reason why you can't make a motion to amend it, to put the money in there, and in the meantime, before we actually make the purchase of the thing, then we can have some further discussion. Or we can,
No, I just want to be able to move forward.
Just, you know, my idea thing is, you know, at what point we say, if we can't get the whole vendor space to be, we want it to be.
Well, I never looked at Mansfield to be the only park here. I looked at Mansfield to be the hub for the township for festivals and all that, with multi-functional fields out there. I would love to see the 4th of July celebration brought back there again. You know, and you can't do that, you got ball fields on, you have to have some open space for that. So, I think it'll be your central hub, and I think Cottonwood Park will be your stadium. And as we already looked at putting bleachers on the opposite side of the field, so we can make more of a stadium effect out of it. That would enable us to leave all the open space here to be multi-functional fields. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have to do. Because if we consolidate all the baseball fields in there, we're going to lose the availability of open space for, again, festivals, car shows, all the other things we're hoping to bring in there. So, we'll put the numbers together so you can see.
so you're making a motion to amend it on?
To amend it and include the 50,000.
Second?
Is there any further discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 15, assessment of well damage at Township Hall.
We already heard some of it. Do you have anything to add, Hobie, to what?
It's an unknown cost at this time, due to the amount of sand that was siphoned down into the well, to chance we might have to replace the pump. Right now, we're trying to flush the pump, the well out and get as much of the dirt as we can out of it. It appears the dirt's been running in there for probably 2 months or more. I've asked Mr. McGinnis to try to ensure us that we'll have something up and operating by the end of the week. And he's going to make every effort. If we have to put a new well in, then that opens up a whole new game as far as permit for the state capping this well, filling it. Right now, we're just going to try to treat it as a repair. At that point, we have to get all the fill tanks yanked out of there again, flushed, before we even turn the water onto the system. And we've got to flush this entire system out. There's so much sand in it. He can't guarantee us anything at this point, except for we're going to keep moving through in steps and expedite the process. And possibly put on an additional sand trap inside the equipment room to try to collect the sand. It's not a filter. It's called a Waco, and it does a swirling effect and traps the water at the bottom of it. That should be put in place prior to the filters. And then we shouldn't have a sand problem once this is fixed. So.
Are you okay budget-wise, Barbara?
Well, do you have an estimate of what this would cost? I would suggest that the township consider an emergency, knowing that we don't know what it's going to entail to repair.
Yeah, I asked Chuck to put numbers together, but until we got beyond where we were today, There was no way to even give a rough estimate on what it would cost.
We have
Here's the
to
thing.
follow
If-
purchasing rules.
If it has to be, if it's beyond bid threshold and it has to be done on an emergent basis,
Right, that's
the
what I'm saying.
township
We
committee
want
has
to
to
be-
pass a resolution declaring it an emergency.
I mean,
That needs to happen.
if it's a pump, it's a couple, I should probably look at $5,000 or $10,000 either way. I would think.
If...
Well, that's not beyond the bid threshold, so.
No,
We're talking substantially more.
But as well, if we need, if it needs to get repaired quickly, we still, unless there's an emergency declared, we still need to work on quotes and getting prices, and that takes more time. I would recommend that an emergency be declared so that we're a little freer as far as getting it repaired in a more timely manner.
Right now, I think it is an emergency. You know, we're utilizing porta potties outside.
Has the contractor given us any kind of a time frame as to when the decision will be made as to?
They won't do.
Well, we want to try to hold off taking a well at all possible. Mike and I were out there today. He's going to come back tomorrow, check how much sand pumped out, so we can see exactly. If we look at, we still have sand, and he's going to pull the pump. And he's going to come in with a big jet pump, and he's going to try to back flush it and shoot all the water, or all the sand out the bottom of the well. Then we'll know. But until we take these steps, there is no way we'll know.
We don't know how long the steps are going to take, but.
No.
Right, so let's get back to Barbara's request. If we make a motion that we declare that we're in an emergency situation, which, by the way, I absolutely think we are, do we don't need to give you a dollar amount, we can just declare it at that point?
That's correct.
Right, so Hobie, why don't you make the motion, because you've been working on this?
I'll make the motion to declare this an emergency.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Someone like to make,
He's been working with Chuck more than I did. He has something to add, Mike?
Mike, come up here so that we can put you on the video. And you can...
Mike Jones, our Township Public Works. Just so you guys understand, when we took the hose out today and stuck it in the trash can, it's a swamp out there, so don't walk out there tonight.
And there's a big hole.
And there's a big hole. They put the hose in the trash can, and the Cascade trash cans that we're using for the new trash system work great with the water, because it's so big and they can swirl. The water comes up, overflows the trash can, the sand settles to the bottom. The one bright side was, there was very, very minimal sand after we cleaned out the well today. That's a positive.
How did you clean the well out?
He cleaned the dirt out, we got the well running. The dirt that was falling in there was no longer falling in the
So you
well.
moved the dirt away from
We moved the dirt away from it.
We've got a 4x5 hole right there right now.
So that is a bonus. It's a plus positive to look at as what the sand was in there the other day. So hopefully that is all that it's going to take, and he can put a new head and we'll be fine. That's best case scenario.
And from there, we're going to put bollards all the way around it so nobody can run into it again.
My next question is, if this well was run into, do we look into filing a JIF claim with the insurance company?
You should. And if you think it was accidental, you should file a claim and see what
It's clear
happens.
where it was hit. You can see the tire marks on where it ran into.
Okay, somebody should take some pictures, call and claim.
I mean, actually, Chief Potter just actually came up with that,
Jay, you're all right.
as filing an insurance claim because it got hit by somebody. I don't know who or what, but something that hit that.
There's a substantial shot to say the
You
least.
don't just crack it. Tony will tell you also, you don't crack a 6-inch Schedule 80 conduit and break your hand. It's not that easy.
How did you get that, who was back there, you know?
The mowers were back there, the trenchers were back there when they ran.
Churches, when they did the gas line, if a lawnmower, but, I mean, a kid could have come through here on a quad. Somebody could drove here in the truck. I mean, I don't know if you can past some people. So, but might want to take an insurance claim. I don't know.
Yeah, Mike, while you're there, we were talking about, you said there were some issues with the well at the rescue squad as well?
Needs to be coordinated.
The guy did tell us when he did the well at the rescue squad, he actually talked to Jay, and I think Barbara, The health department came in and tested it when he was done. Because it's a public building, it has to be tested by the health department. And he said more than likely it's going to fail for bacteria, because whenever you pull a well up, you're going to get bacteria.
It was tested by the health department, again, a second time, and yes, it did test positive. So I made arrangements late today
So I think that was
to
part of
have
his,
that done, chlorination again.
that was part of his bill, was if it failed with the health department, he would come back, chlorinate the well, and then flush out the system.
Do we
Set that on
have
that.
any concerns that these two wells, although the buildings aren't tremendously close together, they share the same aquifer, and perhaps there's something within the aquifer that's contaminated or causing this bacteria?
Well, when you pull a pump out of the well, John, obviously you're gonna have contaminants. When you put it back in, you're gonna contaminate it, so automatically you're gonna do a chloride.
The contamination,
Water was done, you do a chloride out, and then you have chloride.
Okay, so it's not something put up from the groundwater?
Yeah.
I don't think it's,
You pull
the rescue squads all originated from a surge that made an electric line. As far as I know, Jay's water was good up until then, and then his water went within a half hour of him reporting to work. He said it was a surge in the electric, fried one of the lines down in the well, so he had to pull it. I guess it's not uncommon for a well to fail.
Once
people.
And this
is
is,
started,
if
okay.
you'll listen, because the break was about 4 or 5 feet down, is probably the surface water from the sewage plant.
This
That's
is
going into the well.
Infiltrating into the well.
Yeah.
With the dirt cycling down.
Because I think the rescue squad had just passed a water test.
The squad building is tested monthly because of the leak back on Old Blackwell Road.
So his water was good.
And this building is tested.
That's the plume that's out there, right?
Correct.
So,
Yeah, every time you pull a pump.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That can be contaminated.
again, it's an unforeseen, with the amount of dirt that went through that, the impellers could be shot on the pump too, so that's the case we have to police the pump.
So who would be responsible to reporting this to Jeff?
Derek, boss.
I'll take care of that in the morning.
Let our claims coordinator.
Mike, you got the cap out there, right? We can get a picture of the tire mark on it.
I gotta get it back with him, he took it within today to fit a new piece on there, so.
The new head piece?
In the morning.
Okay. Sure, yeah.
All right, so,
And any photos you could coordinate
I'm gonna see if he
with
can
me.
take some photos and I have him write up a,
Report.
that the well was damaged, hit by someone or something. And I'll have to take pictures of all of them.
all right,
Okay.
so let's hope that we can get this rectified by the end of the week, because we have residents that are utilizing it, we have visitors who use it, and more important, we have employees that are, being very accommodating through this very difficult time, so.
From what Chuck did say, if need be, once we get this pumped out and make sure there's no sand coming out, we can get water back into the hall to use it for bathrooms. So if we need to, we can do that. I just want to keep the cost down too. If it's something that one more day is going to make a difference for him, let's not hook it up to get the bathrooms working and then he's got to tear it all apart again and then charge us again for it. So that's, hopefully tomorrow we'll have that answer. In the meantime, we have heating, self-contained lights.
And for those that are more ambitious, there's non-heated out there as well, so. All right, so I guess we've concluded that discussion, so would someone like to make a motion to pay the bills?
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and incorporated into the full minutes of this meeting.
Second, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
All right, so there are a number of reports from the municipal departments, municipal court, MUA report, construction code 2013 end of year report, certificate of determination of award, issue of bond anticipation note, and tax collectors 2013 annual year-end report. Those reports will be available upon request tomorrow at the Township Clerk's office, but I'd like to make a motion to accept the reports at this time. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
I would also ask you to make a separate motion on the tax collector's 2013 annual year-end report. I believe the auditor looks for that.
Okay.
So if someone would move that report separately.
Okay, so I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the tax collector's year-end report.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Okay, so we've reached that point in the meeting where if anyone would like to address the public, address the Township Committee, now's the time to do so.
Mike Jones, Upper Township. I'll start out as a resident on this one, but can you answer me, remember we used to have 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock meetings?
Yes.
Why did that change?
Well, mainly because on the 4 o'clock meetings, we had very little attendance because a lot of individuals were working, and we had really a lot of requests from residents to not continue with the 4 o'clock meeting, to make them both in the evening so that more people could potentially attend. And that's why it was changed. The 4 o'clock started long before I became a member of the Township Committee. It lasted probably through maybe 5 years.
I know it changed when Barbara Camp was committee one.
It changed mainly because there were a number of requests from individuals saying that they had a difficult time making a 4 o'clock meeting. And that's why we went to 2 evening meetings.
How about our 5 o'clock meeting?
It's still like with the county, I believe that's at 5 o'clock, they don't get too much,
You know, I think we can work this out. I don't think there's, I mean, if we look at the calendar and figure out a way to overcome some of the shortfalls for the first and third, I really don't see a reason why we can't make it work. I mean, and that's something we'll look at the calendar, but, because, I mean, we are, these guys will tell you on a daily basis, we're routinely making decisions for our departments and things anyway. It's just that some of these things need to be answered in a timely manner, and when you have ordinances that are involved that affect residents, and, you know, some requests, you know, like some of the requests are in, you know, months before they need to be taken care of. They're not the issue. It's some of these emergent issues that we have and some of the other things we need to address. But I'm not opposed to accommodating and switching it. I do think that going back, I'm certainly not interested in going back to the afternoon meeting, because I don't think that had any value at all. Because at one time, I believe, and I'm not exaggerating, there was one resident here that used to come, Elizabeth Burgess, and that's not, and actually 2. I take that back, because Alice Teal used to come as well. So there were times where we'd have a meeting with only 2 people here. And so that's why, you know, probably almost 10 years ago now, we went to the 2 evening meetings.
I couldn't remember, that's why, and you're the only one who would really know.
Guess that makes me older.
All right, now I'm going to go, Mike Jones, President of Township Lacrosse. Just so, what we fail to realize is, Upper Lacrosse started 7 years ago with 25 kids. As of today, our 2nd year of girls, I'm at 116. 7th year of boys, I'm at 109. That's in 7 years. Fortunately for lacrosse, I need a patch of grass. The expense for lacrosse is minimal. As for baseball, the expense is more because of the maintenance of the fields. But what we have to realize is, and Hobie will tell you, and I'm going to go and show my age, 30 years ago, when I played baseball in Upper Township, we used 2 fields. There was no T-ball, there was no C-ball, there was no D-ball. You have all that today. And that also goes to girls softball. And I umpire girls softball, and I can't keep track of minors, majors, and everything that they have is, there's a lot for girl kids so tiny, up to teenagers playing these sports. And the problem lies is not with the game fields so much, is practice fields. At Amanda's, if you were to give the girls and promise them lights, they would come to Amanda's. But the problem still going to lie is, girls cannot play on a boys field. Boys cannot play on a girls field because of the pitcher's mounds. And it's not something we can just pick up and move and then bring back. and set back down. So they need their fields to play on, but it comes in as practice fields. And it's not interference from outside teams taking up fields and that stuff, that's been hashed out. But in the beginning of the season, when you got A League, C League, B League, Babe Ruth, everybody needs practice fields. That's where the major use of the fields come in. I mean, I know at a point in time, when I played Babe Ruth, we played at the elementary school. When I played Little League, we played at the middle school and Tuckahoe. Now we got baseball is just spread out because they need the fields. And I think that's where it comes into play, is the use of the fields. Even if we get Amanda's fields done, I think we have to keep the 2 Tuckahoe fields, 4 practice fields. I don't think you're going to eliminate everything to get it to Amanda's fields because 3 fields is not enough. And that's just something that we have to look at when it comes, unfortunately, for baseball. The upkeep is more than, say, soccer and lacrosse, and even football. We just need grass. They need a facility.
Well, what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and you know, my point is exactly what you're saying. You began to start to quantify some of these things, and this is what we need to show the taxpayers. This is why we're spending your money. We have this many more teams playing. We have this many more sports that weren't offered before. And these are the kind of things that if we can illustrate this to people, then they won't be as uncomfortable as having their tax dollars, you know.
I mean, back when I started lacrosse, the cost was $10 to play because the township covered the expense. This year we had to go to $75. We had to buy uniforms, we had to get stuff in the tournament Barb's talking about. We have an end of the season tournament. We make enough money off the concession stand to cover the cost of our official fees. Right now we're at about $10,000 a year just in official fees for girls and boys lacrosse. I have no control over that. That's the rate that they set, that's who we have to use. So 10 grand right off the top is going to officials. So we do corporate sponsor fundraising. That tournament that we have there just offsets our cost for officials for the day. That's not what supports us through the whole year. It's the corporate sponsors, it's the businesses within the township that really support us. And I can't speak for any other sport on what they do for fundraising, but that's what lacrosse does for fundraising. And through some clothing sales, we make a couple extra bucks. But that's where we stand, and I'm not complaining by any means. I'm grateful for the fields you give us, the lines, the grass cutting. I'm thankful for it. And it is what it is, and you're not going to change it, so. I think that's it, guys.
All right. Anyone else?
You're going to smile. Stuart Sagan, Tuckahoe. Actually, I have mixed feelings on that field thing because originally I was 100% against it.
Against Amanda's?
I mean, I think it's great to move everything to Amanda's, consolidate it, it will save money for the township. But don't change a field from a baseball field to a football field because you're not saving me as a taxpayer any money. It's still got to be maintained, it still takes manpower. But then the mayor told me, or not told me, but brought up about keeping the kids off the roads and keeping crime down with them. I didn't think about that. That's a great thing.
Well, I mean, we've been fortunate to be able to do that. And the reality is keeping the kids active does a couple things. One, in a society where we have a lot of kids that have dietary problems and aren't exercising, our kids are exercising. And our kids are staying healthy because we're offering those opportunities. And the best part is, secondarily, is that, you know, we're helping to keep them off the streets, we're keeping them active, and we're keeping them healthy as we're doing it as well. I mean, hopefully they're not sitting there playing their, and I don't know what they're called, so I'll say Game Boys, and I'm sure that's not what it is, but, you know, whatever, they're playing these days. Yeah, I am showing my age, that's what my kids had. But, you know, and some of that's really important that we continue to do that because, you know, we are a safe community, and a lot of that has to do with our sport activities that we're offering.
So,
And so, to add what Rich said, I missed my point on some of them, as far as, you know, when I was talking about the programs, but we also have a lot of kids that come from single parents. you know, and this is a great way for these kids to have people to look up to, mentor them, you know, and along with that, we have a lot of volunteers who put excessive hours in every year, and that's something we can't discount, you know, and when we look at what fields we have out there and the amount of numbers that the volunteers raise and the hours they put in, they deserve to have a pretty darn good facility for what work
I
they put
agree
in.
with that, good. I mean, you know, my personal opinion is to push education, not sports, because,
A lot of kids wouldn't get educated if it wasn't for sports.
well, and vice versa.
I know, it goes hand in hand.
I really like what Mr. Coggins was talking about, where, as a taxpayer, show me what you need, what you're gonna do, and show me why you need to add to our program, not maintain what we have. And you actually made the statement that if it cost everybody $10 more
I mean,
to get what we want,
yeah.
put it to a vote. Ask the people in the community, are you willing to spend $10 more so we can have a dream field?
Well, if we did that, we'd be doing it for trash pickup, rescue squad, fire, and everything. We'd be voting on all of them.
Well, don't get me started there.
Well, I'm just saying, you know.
I needed an ambulance 2 weeks ago and I didn't call because I didn't have the money.
Unfortunately, we have to make decisions that we think is going to benefit a lot of people, not a few. And, you know, with recreation, it's a substantial amount of people that are involved in this township, so, you know.
So taking the mayor's point, I mean, I do, you know, you did sway me there for the most part. I would ask that
We'll put more
Mr. Cox a lot, because I really think you guys could do this and show us savings.
I agree.
You know, because for the last couple meetings, you guys were pulling teeth from department heads. Give me $1,000 back off of your budget. And now, it's like, oh, what's, you know, X amount of dollars to get 5 extra fields? Where are we weighing this out? I mean, where...
You know, my point isn't to get the extra field just so we can finish something that we started with.
Right, but
Right now, it's just wasted money sitting there.
and we're wasting money adding to something. I mean,
That's an opinion.
right, obviously that's an
You
opinion.
know how I am.
And that's what I said, I mean, I would love it if you guys worked with Mr. Coggins and came up, show me.
We'll put the numbers together.
Something like that.
We'll put the numbers together, and, you know, and I invite anybody to stop and take a look at what she schedules on a daily basis and how congested that schedule book is. And the requests that we're dealing with, and it's, again,
Compared to the other communities in Cape County, where do we rank for the amount of fields we offer?
we're probably right in line with middle. Dennis Township has 2 or 3 big parks. They have the Bell Plain Park where football is.
And Lower Cape May is developing the same thing that we're
Okay.
doing. So, I mean, what we're offering is consistent with other communities.
I wasn't sure about that, and
If you want to go up into Morristown area, Brick Township and those places, there are youth programs up there. I play football at those parks. They're next turf
right.
for the kids.
Well, like I said, you saw me on that,
So,
I agree with that, keeping the kids off the road.
what we're trying to do is in excessive compared to what a lot of the other municipalities have.
Right.
It keeps us in line with the other municipalities. You know, and we want our kids and our volunteers to feel good about where they play. So,
My next one, the abandoned house at Tyler and Route 50, the one stuck in the woods at the Triangle,
yeah.
has finally collapsed.
Time 50,
Yes.
it's in process of being taken down.
So that is in the process, so it's not a safety hazard?
No, it's in process of being taken down, yes.
Okay. I was just noticed the other day it was down on the ground.
Yeah, I saw it too, it's getting worse.
Well, it's on the ground, but the entire house collapsed.
It did, when?
Yes, I went by today and noticed it's completely on the ground.
Did it collapse or somebody?
Well, I seriously hope no kid was in there playing around, because if he is, he's crushed. So, you know, unfortunately, I don't know why that wasn't addressed in the past by.
Oh, it was, I'm not sure why those things are all.
Right, and I know it's difficult because you got to fight with all that. I'm not blaming you guys for that, I'm just letting you know.
No, but to your point, we probably should have somebody go out and take a look at that tomorrow. If anything, we take the area until, because the owner is working on taking care of that demolition of that. And that's something that...
He just saves some money.
Couple months from the road.
Right, I mean, I'm just concerned somebody's going to get hurt. Also, the street paving. I don't know if you guys have noticed, we have a serious problem with trees and branches that overhang the roads.
Yes.
If we're going to do the paving on these roads, can we either send the zoning officer out to enforce the ordinance and make people comply with, I think it's like 12 feet straight up from the curb line, or send out, we have that brand new mower. Send somebody out and do that and let them do it to code.
I've talked to the road supervisor about that, and he has a list, and he's started working on it last year.
Okay, the problem is, last year,
It was in the fall.
everyone is intimidated in our department. If you send somebody out and say trim the trees, you're not going to walk up to somebody who has a fancy tree and just start lopping branches off. Because then we're going to get phone calls and then we're going to get yelled at, and basically the idea is just ignore it. So that's why I'm saying, like, if we're going to pave the roads, can we get zoning out there or something just to enforce it, and we can get some roads that are proper?
Well, what we have to do is get Roy to give us a list of where and what, and then if Roy sends somebody else to cut the trees, you cut them, regardless of what the homeowner says. The homeowner's not in compliance. Too bad.
Be careful with that one, because we did that a long time ago, and there was a nightmare. I understand what you're saying, but in the old days, they used to just cut up to the road, and we had numerous complaints from the residents.
Stuart, you work for the township and you see these every day. Do we have a mechanism in place where the information's coming from the people that we have out in the street, go to the supervisor, and then we address it?
I have gone as far as to write probably 50, 60 houses down and turn it into Shelley. And I believe she has been addressing that, right? You know, I picked the absolute worst ones that were dangerous. So.
But most of them can be solved by Public Works properly trimming a tree. That's all it takes.
But we just have to be allowed.
But you're going to have to.
Yeah, somebody's got to back up and say, hey, no, I'm sorry, it's.
If you told by the supervisor to go in a specific address.
But my supervisor's not going to send me to do that because he's worried that you guys are going to get a phone call.
So what? So we'll get a phone call. Why is it?
There's a lot, as far as where the tree's located for.
Well, it's not saying they can't go out to themselves, and he kind of said, that tree.
What I'm saying is if the tree's in the front yard and not in the right-of-way area,
Well, if it's overhanging the right-of-way.
then you have the right to trim it.
Because the ordinance
overhanging the right-of-way
straight
area,
out.
but you don't have the right to kill that guy's tree. I think Dan was smiling.
You can cut it if it's in the right of way. We'd have to take a look at the ordinance, what the regulation is. From a practical sense, I think a procedure has to be implemented to notify the homeowner. If we haven't been enforcing it, that we're going to start enforcing it, give them a deadline. If they don't want to do it, then you'll go out and do it. As long as you have a record of doing that, I think it would reduce the amount of complaints.
It's on the same line as we have the best of why you got cut.
See, and I realize, this could cause issues, and that's why I'm saying, not complaining about the entire township, I'm saying, could we try to just do this on the streets we're paving?
That makes a lot of sense,
And then
because
we
we will
take
be
it
out
from
there, we'll
there.
have township personnel out there to inspect the job.
How are these trees going to affect the trash pickup if they're not trimmed with the one-armed bandits?
Well, it certainly could cause some issues depending on the overhead.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be hitting them, I have no doubt. A lot of the streets, there's some streets that you can get one truck through. Because you can, right on the side of the roads. All right, I had to take notes, sorry.
He has a lot of notes.
Okay, going to the new trucks. Was my understanding, originally we were going to rent a third truck in the beginning to kick this system off, and that way we weren't going to fall behind?
Well, we have the paperwork ready in the event that we're going to need a rental truck, one. Two, we're going to have 4 trucks, not 2, not 3, 4, to start with.
Okay,
We're
but
gonna have
I'm...
2 siders, we're going to have 2 side loader and 2 rear loader trucks automatically. So we feel that should be sufficient. If we need to rent another truck, the paperwork's already in place, so we can phone call and get it in, 48 hours or so, less than that.
Because my confusion is the fact that when we went through all this, the major reason we went with the automated trucks was the safety. So that we didn't have to put 2 employees in the back in a dangerous area. And that's why we realized, all right, we were going to have a training time, you know, we weren't going to be able to do 100% at the beginning, and we were going to do what we could to make it work best. But now it sounds to me, if we're not going to rent the third truck,
Well, we didn't say
we're just going to put guys on the back again, and we're not changing them.
We're not saying we're not
I think what you're gonna find when you begin to use this system is that the cycle time on this is gonna be so much faster. You're reducing the number of cans that are out there on the street. You're gonna be able to get a lot more homes per hour than you really believe at this point you will. I think you're gonna be very surprised at how efficient these vehicles are going to be at increasing the number of homes that you're able to pick up in the same amount of time. You currently, with this system now, are using 4 rear loaders. So what you'll be going to is you'll be going to 2 of the side loaders, plus you'll have 2 rear loaders to start. So really, you're not, the net effect is the same. You're not losing any trucks, and you have a faster cycle time.
All right, I mean, my question is just, you know, it changed, and, you know, I wanted to keep up to speed on the difference, because originally the plan was we were going to rent the third truck, train with it, and then possibly look into buying it from the end of the lease.
No, we never talked about buying into the lease. For one thing, we talked about possibly renting for 2 months. However, we have the trucks here now that we already trained with.
Right.
So we're going to have probably 2 weeks or so to train these trucks. Therefore, it eliminates the much the need of having a truck here so that you can train on it.
Okay, and I mean, I'm fine with
But it's trying to explain.
because no matter what, we'll make it work.
Well, no, just trying to explain it, once we do the trucks, you know, to do the route, because the advanced self-design truck, we should be able to do more now than you are now actually building. So, most likely, we're not going to need a truck. But if we do need it, we have the paperwork in place so that we can make a phone call and give it to you guys.
Okay, so that's great, we got it.
It's already
It's still on plan, and we have a backup in case we
Right, it's already
need
in
it.
place.
So that's great.
If we do need it, you'll have it within a day or 2.
Awesome. I don't have to bring up what I asked you about earlier. I assume 100% you're going to look at that. Next, don't worry, I'm almost done. We talked about electronics and all these other recycling things and tires. How do we pick them up? How many do we pick up? You guys need to come out on the trash trucks with us, because if we have a shortage of manpower, trash and recycling will go in the same truck. Sorry to say it, but I've seen it happen. Electronics. The people don't pull their electronics out of their trash. Nobody enforces it. The people on the back of the truck that see this aren't allowed to enforce it. If they say something to the driver's going to call the shop, and the only thing that's going to happen is the shop's going to get a phone call from the homeowner, they didn't pick up my trash, and they're going to send the truck back to pick up their trash with the electronics or the recycling in it. We have a sanitation inspector. He doesn't have time to check every single can. And since he's been in effect, I mean, how many tickets has he actually written?
if you guys aren't turning in the people that are not doing it properly, he does another violation.
Well, he randomly checks them, and I know
well,
he's had multiple.
Just to give you an example, I got red tag, my own trash. And they set up the house, I think that's,
I go in.
yeah, they put a fire on the way, so, yeah, they, no, they don't job. Yeah. We had one more, I think it was too heavy,
But we're getting a little bit out of control. Someone's watching this video, we're like, how long is this going to go on?
It is, I mean, it's great to talk about that, but we don't enforce anything.
Well, not true, you just, the case is, well, no, just what I said, I myself was red tag. So someone, he's doing a job. No, for homeowners in non-compliant, they got to get red tag. And you're right.
In a situation that you called and complained, there's an 80% chance that truck would have got sent back to pick up your
And
can.
they get back the money, why should we go back to someone else?
Well, it's because it was my truck.
But nevertheless, it was.
Everybody knows
I didn't even buy it. I just put it on the side and the phone weekend, get what I had, and it was picked up.
Right.
And
And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, the system doesn't work.
you know what, somebody would have trash and recycle or vice versa. Unfortunately, that is what it is. So you realize, you know, you can't say you go through it again, and that'll take a week to get used to doing one.
Right, I was just wondering if there was a way to give that a little more teeth, so that the sanitation inspector actually has a way to say, hey, you know what? Separate this out of your trash, and if you don't, and if it's in there next week, I'm gonna give you a ticket.
He can only do that if you guys let him know there's a problem.
But, same thing as you
You
did.
can't enforce what you can't see. And he can't stop doing whatever you can in the township every day. You know,
I've been told in the past from a supervisor, because I used to call whenever I can. I mean, believe me, I was a nightmare. I have been told that if we follow the rules, how they're written, we would pick up maybe 10% of the cans that we stop at, which isn't feasible to do.
I'm sure. But it's like everything else, until the consistency's there, you have nothing. So it has to start somewhere if there's a problem.
Right, and my concern is going into the new system with bigger cans, people can hide stuff more in it. And increasing the teeth of making sure it's enforced.
Well, I think you call to our attention that there may be an enforcement issue. Some of the procedural aspects of this would probably be more appropriately discussed at a roundtable between code enforcement and the public works personnel. I don't know that those are issues that we're going to be able to solve in this forum here tonight, especially when we're talking about individual violations.
Right, and I'm just making you aware that, you guys were talking about it, it does not run nearly the way you were describing. There's a lot of issues there that, we could do better, but the employees can't do it by themselves.
Well, you come aboard.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Barr, no disrespect.
Let's try and keep it more towards specific things that we're addressing tonight, okay?
No
Please.
disrespect about dog people. I have 3 dogs and love dogs to death. But we have sidewalks in Marmora that are horrible, that kids could trip on walking to school. Can we be more concerned with that than a dog?
That's a code enforcement issue.
The homeowner's responsible for the sidewalk.
Well, you're safety, correct? That's why I corrected, because I'm assuming.
Actually, it's code enforcement. Actually, Public Works does a routine inspection, and the procedure typically would be that based on that inspection, that information would be passed over to code enforcement, and then letters would be written to the homeowner.
I mean,
So
I'm
if the-
very under the bus, but I've approached you about that in the past when you were superintendent, and you basically told me, obviously, you wanted to go in the paper that the guy from Public Works is saying you have to spend all this money and fix your
I don't know where you're coming up with that, Stu, but that's been the procedure and that's what's followed. The inspection's done by Public Works, pass over to code enforcement.
Well, then
That's
again,
where it's always
you
been
have a
done.
hole somewhere, that.
All right, we're not going to, Stu, you're bringing out every issue you seem to have about your job thing and everything else. That's not what this is about, okay? Well, I certainly have allowed you a lot of latitude, but now you're almost 25 minutes giving us. Okay, so, you know, if I stayed by some rules where they do 3-minute rules, you would have been going a long time. We've given you a lot of latitude, but now you're starting to get into personal kind of things that really don't need to be addressed this evening. They can be addressed with your supervisor, they can be addressed through personnel, they can be those kind of things, all right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, hearing silence. I'll close the public portion and I'll turn it over to Mr. Coggins to read the statement to move into closed session.
I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Matters, number 1, personnel, number 2, safety and security issues, number 3, contract negotiation and tax appeal conflict attorneys. I also include in my motion the estimated time and circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public. The determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. With respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer reason for confidentiality.
Second, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you all for attending this evening. Have a great week.